Hey, Gator Nation. Welcome back to episode 33 of the Respect Our Decision podcast. As always, I'm your boy Hirsch, and with me is the hype man Wes.
Good.
And CJ the man McCann.
What's going on?
All right, Gator Nation, huge recruiting show on deck for you. A lot of recruiting nuggets to get to and some general conversation we're going to have about a few things we want to talk about. Getting as the Gators start to really fire into this recruiting cycle. As always, guys, though, make sure you go out there and download this episode wherever you get your podcast from. We're available on all providers. And if you haven't already, guys, check us out on YouTube at our YouTube channel, Respect Our Decision. And if you're new to the podcast or new to finding us on YouTube, if you don't mind, take a second and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a great deal. Hit that notification bell so you get a notification anytime we drop more content. Give the episode a like if you think if you like it, and drop us a comment down below on what you think about our opinions. Tell us you agree, you don't agree. Hey, we read them all, man. We appreciate the feedback. And as always, guys, if you like to support us as creators, check out our Patreon, Respect Our Decision. We appreciate everybody so much for their support. And as always, guys, before we jump into it, just want to remind everybody we are partnered with Prize Picks, guys. It is a good time of year to join on with Prize Picks. You got MLB opening day next week. You got NBA playoffs coming up hot. USFL coming around the corner to join the XFL. Right. Man, I'm talking
all the
big time football. Go ahead, man. Prize Picks is daily fantasy where you pick 4 or 5 over-unders, man, parlay them together, get you a big payday. As always, use code RESPECT100. Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Guys, there's all kinds of good recruiting news in the air, man. We're going to start it with the big fish, man, Mr. DJ Lagway. Of course, you know DJ, the 5-star quarterback out of Willis, Texas. DJ got another honor this week. He was invited to the inaugural On 3 NIL Elite Series, which is honestly, I don't know a whole lot about what they're going to be doing there. I'm sure they're going to be coaching these kids on NIL and how they can better monetize themselves and things of that nature. But only the top 50 prospects in the country get invited to that. So shout out to DJ for that tremendous honor. I mean, they just continue to rack up for the future Gator signal caller. And with that being mentioned, Mr. Lagway is supposedly, he's not home. He's not here yet. Going to be in town for the next couple of days. And Mr. Lagway is going to be on campus for a specific recruiting reason, it looks like, these next 2 days, because we have a very big fish in town tomorrow. If you listen to this episode on Thursday morning, that means he'll be pulling into Gainesville sometime probably this afternoon. Jeremiah Smith. And if you're familiar with recruiting at all, Jeremiah Smith is the #1 wide receiver in the country. He's currently committed to the Ohio State Buckeyes and Brian Hartline up there, Ryan Day. But the kid's visiting, man, and and DJ's flying all the way in supposedly from Texas to help show this young man around, maybe throw the ball around on the sidelines a little bit, just hook it up, chop it up a little bit. Guys, this is pretty huge information dropping here just this evening. What do y'all think about that, CJ?
It's great news because, you have a guy who's coming on campus now with the quarterback that he would supposedly be playing with if he was to come here. And that's a big deal. That's kind of why you got DJ in the class so early, is to try to help you recruit some of these big time wide receivers. Now I think the timing is not, off the wall. I think Jeremiah Smith had been pretty open. He was going to take a wait and see approach for Florida to hire a new wide receiver coach. Now that they have, I think he feels like he's comfortable to come back on campus. I think it's good, especially now that we do have a wide receiver coach. I think it's better that it's Billy G, because Billy G is, he's been doing this a long time. He's a good coach. He's recruited well. He's got a good coaching pedigree. So to have him on campus now with Jeremiah Smith, with DJ Lagway and now with Austin Simmons all together. And we look to be in for a pretty good recruiting weekend with all of those guys playing off of each other.
Wes.
Yeah, just to piggyback off what CJ just said at the end, with Simmons coming in, that's the quarterback 2025 commit. So you got your potential.
Not committed yet.
Yeah, I say potential 2025 commit QB quarterback coming in this weekend. You got your star of the show, DJ Lagway, 24 quarterback coming in. You got the number one wide receiver in the country coming in from the state of Florida. This is setting up, like CJ said, perfectly. Then you just hired Billy G, and I also agree with CJ. Then having a coach that is a no-name coach that you don't really know about. One thing that all the players, if you were following our podcast last week, a lot of players came out and spoke out like how he did for them. Van Jefferson, Kadarius Toney, Grimes, a lot of Freddie Swain, Josh Hammond. A lot of those guys came out and vouched for how good of a coach that Billy G is and how he helped develop them and made them better players. We saw Freddie Swain and Hammond before Billy G got here, and we saw the results of them after Billy G left. They ended up getting some stints in the NFL. Swain is still in the NFL. And of course, Van and Kadarius Toney is also in the NFL. But this is just phenomenal. You love to see it. That's why we was so excited to have DJ in early. Like last year, it took us a while to get a quarterback. We had one, but he wasn't as talented and as high profile as DJ Lagway was, and is. And this is just. I heard some people mention Tebow effect. It doesn't matter who your quarterback is. I don't want to use Tebow effect, but if you have a top 5 potential quarterback that is that talented, wide receivers want to know who want to play with that type of guy. And then we already mentioned before of how charismatic this kid is and how magnetic he is. So I'm just excited, man. And I hopefully we can steal one away from Hartline. That would be big to take somebody from Hartline, even though the kid is from Florida. To steal somebody back from Florida, from the state of Florida, from Ohio State and Brian Hollard is major kudos to the staff. They can make this happen.
Yeah, this can't be discounted. I mean, it can't be said enough. Getting this visit right now and getting your quarterback to come from Texas. I mean, it's not like the kid's down in Orlando or something like that, and he's just making a drive up for the day. I mean, him and his father coming all the way from Willis, Texas, out to Gainesville just to, chop it up with the big number 1 receiver in the country, man. This staff's moving big time. This is a big time move. You say, hey, man, we need you here. This is the kind of, this didn't just come about overnight. Like, hey, you mind coming over for the day tomorrow and hanging out with Jeremiah Smith? No, this was calculated by the staff. And like CJ mentioned before, well done to wait until Billy G is in the fold. So Jeremiah Smith can spend some time with Billy Gonzalez, because Billy Gonzalez is going to take some time away from what he's doing to meet and speak with Jeremiah Smith. You can bet money on that. And let DJ work his magic, man. And there's been a lot of rumors that Jeremiah Smith might not end up in that class. That, Florida guys don't like that cold, man. Now, I know it ain't a secret that Ohio State wide receivers get it done, but some of them Florida boys don't want to go be cold, man.
Let me ask you guys a question before we move on. Just a quick question, give a snippet. How good of a prospect is Jeremiah Smith?
I have heard multiple times he's the best wide receiver to come along in many years. We were talking before the show. He's kind of in that Julio Jones kind of mold. Obviously, this is all, prediction based. You can be great in high school. We've seen lots of high school kids that were just the absolute best thing you've ever seen and then didn't pan out in college. But he certainly has all the tools that, you'd want out of a wide receiver in today's game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you talk measurables, the skill set, the mind for the game, the athleticism, he's got everything you want in a top level wide receiver. I I think he's as good as we've ever seen as far as like a wide receiver prospect. He plays top level competition in the state that's known to produce the best wide receivers. So definitely, I think Jeremiah Smith, as far as like a prospect goes, he could potentially be one of the greatest prospects ever, regardless of position.
Whew. And as you guys mentioned, 2025 quarterback prospect Austin Simmons is making another visit. I mean, he was just here a couple of weeks ago out of Pahokee, Florida, man. He seems to be big time hyped up on the Gators. So you could see this kid commit. I wouldn't be surprised if he committed maybe this weekend. Now, I'm not saying that's happening. Don't hold me to that, please. But the kid is definitely, you can definitely tell he's wrapped up in the excitement about the Florida Gators right now. And I love to see Billy Napier have that plan. We get DJ, that elite quarterback every year. I believe Austin Simmons right now is ranked somewhere like 63rd in the 2025 rankings.
Yeah, he's a top 6 quarterback right now in the rankings.
Yeah, so
depending on where you look at.
Absolutely an elite quarterback. Followed up on the heel, DJ Lagway, then you follow it up with another one. That's the mold you want to be in. Get it done, man. Get it done and let that young man start recruiting too. Hey, Jeremiah Smith, you might get to play with both of these guys. I mean, probably not if he's as great as we think he is.
Yeah.
Right.
Him and DJ might be going out at the same time. But, hey, future teammates, work it together, whatever you got to do. Another young man that's been talked about here in the last week or so heavily, visited earlier this week. Jamari Howard is a cornerback currently committed to not Mississippi State. I apologize. Michigan State. Had the wrong MSU right there. He visited and rated his visit 10 out of 10. Loved it. Said he'll be back. 6'2", 170-pound, speedy corner. Just currently got a bump in the composite up to number 103. Corey Raymond, man, working that magic again. It looks like a kid. He wants to get in here and another shutdown corner under his belt. Any thoughts on that one, guys?
Go ahead.
I mean, Corey Raymond wants a corner. I'm gonna want him too. So that's kind of where I'm resigned at. I mean, I'm not gonna doubt the man. I've seen him take 3 stars early, and people wonder, oh my God, is Corey Raymond washed? He doesn't know what he's talking about. And then you end up like kids like Sharif Denson, Jakeem Jackson. So, I mean, I'm gonna let Corey Raymond do what Corey Raymond wants to do.
He's the GOAT, man. Gonna shift gears here for a second and talk about a running back that got a little press earlier this week. Running back Kanan Daniels out of Mississippi. Now we're in the right state. Was crystal balled by Steve Wiltfong to the Florida Gators this week. Kind of out of nowhere. Not a guy we had heard much about on our running back board. Obviously, we already have Chauncey Bowens in the stable, already committed, who's quickly rising up the charts. Probably at this point might be considered running back 1 for this class. I mean, originally when he committed, we all thought Chauncey was probably, a backup, the number 2 back in the class. But now, if you look out there, I mean, he's shot up everyone's board. Bama wants him. Georgia wants him. So now we're looking at this young man. He's 5'11", 190 pounds out of West Point, Mississippi. Number 356 overall in the composite. Kid has got tremendous numbers. Put up over 2,000 yards last year as a junior. Has got a pretty good growing offer list. Bama, A&M, FSU all offered him. So this begs the question I want to ask of you guys, because we have to start thinking about this. I mean, obviously the staff's already a step ahead of us on this one. Do y'all think it's possible that we take 3 running backs in this class with the possibility of Montrell Johnson being out the door? And then the young man who we added from Tulane, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Because
Cameron Carroll.
That's right, Cameron Carroll. I'll remember that one of these days. I'm terrible with names. Obviously he could be gone as well. So I mean, you're going to be looking at possibility of just Webb and Trevor in the running back room next year, and Bowens if you sign, if we sign him. So do y'all think it's a possibility that we take 3 running backs this class? Wes?
Yeah, I think it's a possibility. Speaking about the kid and like the Comer Raymond effect, I'm not gonna question this staff, expertise on the running back position, being that they put guys who produce in the NFL. You saw what Montreal came over and did. So I'm okay with whatever they do at the running back. Of course, we want high profile guys. So I do still think they will take a third guy. Speaking to your point about these 2 upperclassmen may leave with Carroll and Montreal going after the year. Running backs and their shelf life in the NFL, so he's probably gone. And then you have Etienne would be a junior and Webb being a sophomore, and you want depth back there. And the way the transfer portal is, it depends on our position, our number of positions at other key areas, how many kids we take in this cycle. I think that'll depend a lot on it, but I can see us taking a third high level back. It won't be just a rat. If we take this kid, if we take another running back, it's going to be a high profile guy. I would say a top 100 back if we take another one.
CJ?
Short answer, yes. I totally see us taking a third back. You look at Billy's offense and what he's run, it's used multiple backs. Even at most of the time this year, we used 3 backs. You're going to want that because you are looking at some depth issues. Once Montreal leaves, barring him having some catastrophe happen, Montreal's probably going to the NFL. Cameron Carroll doesn't have a choice. He's out of eligibility. So that's going to leave you with just Webb and ETN. Then you bring in 2 running backs. That's only 4 backs on your roster in a roster that usually uses 3 or 4 backs in the offense. So I could totally see us adding another back in the recruiting class as long as it's somebody like Anthony Carey, somebody like Jarrett Gibson, somebody like Stacey Gage. It's got to be a pretty big running back. If we don't add any of those guys, then I expect us to go with the transfer portal because, we know running backs grow on trees in the transfer portal. So I would say, yes, we're going to add a back. I'm not sure if it comes from the portal or the recruiting class, though.
I couldn't agree more. I definitely see us adding 3 new faces to that room next year, no matter how we go about it, though. But like Wes said, when it comes to running back recruiting in this staff, I'm not worried. These guys have got that part figured out, and Coach Jaluk knows what he's doing. So, and to CJ's point, running back is one of those positions. I think it's crazy when you see the numbers. A school like Texas is offering a Baxter and even now Gibson to come in today's day and age, with the way running backs are used. And now make no mistake about it. Texas is putting the best running back into the draft this year, but it's just seemingly a changing landscape, and I'm okay with the 2 to 3 running back system. Keeps a lot more tread on their tires for when they're pros too.
Right.
And I know those kids appreciate that. Guys, we're going to talk about something a little different here, and this is it's kind of in lieu of some things that happened last year, and maybe the lesson that the staff has learned from the things that happened last year. There's some talk out there that maybe UF this cycle is telling kids, no, we don't want you to silent commit. You're either committed or you're not committed. You're either, you're going to be a Gator or you're not going to be a Gator. There is no, hey, I want to keep it silent for right now. Now, let me preface this by saying there's certain commits that you will allow this with regardless of the scenario. DJ Lagway was a silent commit, but that's because they have a bigger thing planned down the road, whether it be a TV commitment, something of that nature. some of these top 25 commits, they get the chance to be on TV. They up their followers on their social media platforms. They up their NIL. I mean, it's a necessary evil kind of in the scheme of things now. But do y'all agree with the I mean, Dabo has done this for years at Clemson. It's been and been pretty successful with it, I would say. But do you agree with the staff's decision, if it is in fact true, to cut back on letting these kids silently commit? CJ?
It's different for every kid. Every situation is going to be different. You're not going to tell a top 10 kid you need to commit right now, or we're not taking your commitment, because you don't have that much leverage. But there are kids, when you're talking like the 150s, the 200s, the 4-star kids, yeah, you can definitely do that. I have no issues with that. I think that that's kind of what you want. You want, an old saying, you can't be half pregnant. You either are or you aren't. So, you can't just be like, I'm silently committed. And, there's an old saying on a coach that says, he says, yeah, I got a lot of silent commits. The problem was on signing day, they ended up staying silent. So, I'm for it with kids that you can get away with it with. I think, like I said, though, I think every kid is so different now. When you talk to the top 30 kids, the 5-star recruits, the kids that have offers and they can go play anywhere they want to play, I don't know if you have that much leverage to tell a kid like a Colin Simmons, hey, you need to commit here now. If you don't, we don't want your silent commit. I don't think that's going to work. But I think a kid who's a 3-star or 4-star that you really want, that you're high on, you can kind of leverage them we want you to commit now. So yeah, I just think it's different for every situation, but I don't have a problem with them doing it.
Wes?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, CJ. Depends on the kid and who that kid is and what type of kid it is. If it's a kid like how we knew DJ Lagway was, he was a type of kid that if he gave you his word type of kid. I mean, we meet people in life, and that's the same thing with some of these kids. You never know what they're going to do, but some of these kids come off the maturity level of the kid will tell you a lot about them as well. So if a kid say, hey, coach, I have a video guy that I want to set up a video with, or like Hirsch said, I have a TV spot at the Under Armour game or the Army game or whatever, then that's understandable. But you can't do it with every kid. Yeah, I'm gonna do it this day, coach. And then the day comes and passes, and you're setting yourself up thinking you got this kid, and you tell another kid no. That causes a lot of problems, and we saw a lot of that from signing day. What this also tells me is the staff is learning it as well as, hey, we're not going to be doing that crap this year. We're going to put our foot down. To me, that's telling me they're being aggressive as well, instead of putting pressure on these kids to do it and not wait around and push stuff back over and over like we saw with the kid Walker that we thought we had sealed up. We have to step up and put our foot down and get these kids in the class if we really want them, and stop letting them think about it and say, well, coach, I need to do this and all that stuff. That doesn't usually end well. And that's not just this staff. That's been like a curse of ours as Florida Gators fans for a while who follow recruitment.
I think too, though, that also goes where we're at as far as like situation wise, as compared to how the roster looked a year ago as to what it looks like now. You could kind of be more aggressive and take more chances. You're not having to kind of placate to try to fill a depth need. I think we're pretty well set as far as like depth wise on most positions where you can do this now. I think last year you were kind of in the spot where it's like, we really need to get this kid any way we can get him because we have such a strong need on the depth chart.
And now we have pretty much of a established foundation.
That's a good point.
And of young guys is at that. Like, I mean, we're not going to be losing a tremendous amount unless it's portal guys maybe after this season. So you're not trying to find maybe instant starters, in the recruiting landscape. But, the most famous situation last year goes back to the A.J. Harris situation where silently committed, rumors got out. He got crystal balled by Fong and a few others because the rumors got out. And then he got butthurt. Sorry, I'm going to call it what it is about it. And the whole thing, got drawn out, and then eventually, obviously, he ends up at Georgia, which he may have ended up at Georgia anyway, even if he committed to us. So let me not, but it puts a lot more pressure on the kid if you publicly commit to stay with that commitment. No, a lot of these kids don't want the backlash that comes with a decommitment. I mean, some kids aren't built for that. Some kids don't like it, and understandably so. I mean, the recruiting landscape as a whole now can be such a negative thing towards some of these kids just for being kids. Like, if you have a teenager or a teenager, they change their mind daily on most subjects anyway. So where they're going to spend the next 3 to 4 years of their lives doesn't come as any surprise that they may have a change of heart in a month, 2 months, 3 months down the road. But it always helps that if a kid's in his heart willing to go public with his commitment, then it's probably a good indication of how serious he is about that school. So I like the approach. Like CJ said, like I said at the beginning, there's certain circumstances where that's always going to be the case, silent commitments. If you're a top 30, 25 kid, you can call up ESPN, CBS, anybody that does recruiting coverage and say, hey, I'd like to, I'm going to commit on the 31st of the month. Do you have a 15-minute spot for me? And they'll make a spot for them.
Mm-hmm. Boosts up their ratings.
It boosts up their rankings. It boosts up like I said, the kids' social media presences get boost because, hey, I'm committing on the 31st. Make sure you follow me for all this. And in today's age of NIL, social media presence is a huge factor in what they can command for NIL based on their follower counts. It's a huge deal. So I like to see the staff putting their foot down on certain circumstances. I think it's time that they can flex their muscle a little bit and say, look, you're either a Florida Gator or you're not. If you're not, that's fine. But you're going to shop, we're going to shop. And that's just how it is. We're going to find the best fit for us. You find the best fit for you. And you might lose on some kids that we might need. It's going to happen. But I like the approach a lot better than taking 5, 6, 7 silence and then getting 1 or 2 of them.
Right.
All right, guys, we're going to shift gears for a second. We want to take a little bit of a deeper look into this year's recruiting cycle, and we're going to talk about what each of us feels like is the can't miss position, and maybe a couple of the prospects at that position that we need to see the Gators land this cycle. Obviously, last year we covered a lot of needs, but we have a lot of needs still as far as future, all SEC, all American performers. You want to keep filling those positions with the best prospects you can possibly get. And we have a few positions that we all feel are certainly still huge needs going into this cycle. So I'm going to start it off. I'm going to go with CJ. I know CJ's got his position ready to go, and then Wes is going to give you his, and I'll round it out with mine. CJ, talk about it.
I think when you look at the roster based on what we have and what we've lost, and what we're prepared to lose too, on top of that, I think that the main glaring position of need is safety. We need safety help bad. We don't have a lot of depth. We have some good pieces at safety, but we don't have a lot of help behind it. So when I'm looking at the board and I'm like, there's a guy we need who's like right in the class, Xavier Filsaime, to me is a really big need. I think that we need to do everything we can to get him in this class because we need a high profile safety. I think that Jarvis Boatwright is almost there. I don't think he's as talented as Xavier Filsaime right now. So I'd rather have Filsaime. But definitely I would love to have Boatwright. I think he's important to the class because we need depth. We saw Jalen Hayward at spring a few weeks ago. If you've seen any of the articles that he was there for spring practice. He's currently committed to Georgia right now. But, he's a kid that would definitely help out at that safety spot. Now that Corey Raymond has full autonomy, of the secondary, it might change with who we recruit at safety, as opposed to when it was more or less Patrick Toney recruiting the safety spot. Now you have Corey Raymond who can kind of pick and choose, and I think that might change things with Hayward. It might not. I'm not. I don't know. When you commit, usually percentage of the time you're probably going to stay committed, but it doesn't mean we don't keep trying. But definitely, as far as like glaring need, CJ, if you could have one kid commit today, to me, it's Xavier Filsaime. I just really believe we need the safety help bad. We've got to have kids in that secondary that can really get after it, or some really good ball hawks. Because if your back end of your secondary isn't very good, it's going to limit what you can do in the front end with what we saw last year, where everybody's like, why are the corners playing so far off? Why we're not pressing enough. We're not pressing. Because if the corner gets beat, you had Trey Dean and Rashad Torrance back there not really getting the job done. So, I mean, you saw these guys run their 40 times at the combine, and they were like sub 4.8s. And I'm like, that's why our corners are playing so far back, because if they get beat, there's no guarantee the safety is going to stop them. So then you're just opening up the big play, and you're basically playing cover zero. So you need good safeties in the back. And not to say we don't have those guys. We've got Dijon Johnson, who's coming up. You've got Kamari Wilson, who's shown some flashes. He's a young player. He's a talented kid, 5-star prospect. So we'll see how that progresses. But right now, if you get an Xavier Filsaime, and you can get a Jarvis Boatwright, and you can get a Jalen Hayward, if you were able to pull that off and really reload that safety room, we could be looking at a very dominant secondary for the next few years. So as a need, that to me is the one we really need to focus on.
I can't disagree with any of that. Safety is a huge need for this class. Wes, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you, CJ. I went with this position because you know what can help a secondary? A good pass rush. And we have been lacking in a star guy maybe since when I say star, maybe Dante Fowler might have been the last star guy at the end. Even though I loved what Alex McAllister did back in 2016, 2016-ish, that year Will Greer was there. But as far as an elite pass rusher from the edge, not the strong. We have a lot of, I believe, strong side defensive ends on the team on the roster. But as far as a true DN rushing the pass, I think only have his power now. I know we were going to move some guys around. Some freshmen may go over there and play that position. And it's my hurt for Keon Keeley last year that we were unable to get that commitment. Maybe we need to go out of state and get this guy, Colin Simmons, not to be confused with the quarterback from Florida that we target, Austin Simmons. But he is from Texas, 6'3", 225. He's the number one edge rusher in the country, the number 3 player in the country, number 1 edge rusher, number 3 player. And I'm just going to stick with this guy because I want a high-profile guy. I know it's early in the staff. Probably will have some other guys come on a little bit later with these elite traits that he possessed, and that's the guy I want. I'm going to keep – I defended Chaos a lot last year, and I love the D-line that he got. I know some people were upset that he didn't get a true nose, but we got that in the portal, I believe. So right now, I believe the tackle position is solid. I'm going to add some guys this time. I believe the strong defensive inside is solid, and we're going to add some guys this cycle as well. But we need to add a guy, a dude, a straight up dude that when it's 3rd and 7, and we need somebody to make a play to help your boys in the back. I'm not going to try to pronounce your boys your safety name that you just mentioned. I'm going to leave that to you because I didn't study your guy. But as far as Simmons helping the back end, he can do that. With the DB class that we have that just came in, and the safety class that you're mocking, that you're hoping that we get, you got to have somebody that they complement each other. The rushing, the passer complements the secondary, and vice versa. And we need that part. We need that part. The DN part to do his part, because I don't feel like we've been rushing the passer leading up. Like, I love Princely and I love Powell, but they're long in the tooth, so they're hopefully they have a breakout year and they can go to the NFL. So that's my guy, Colin Simmons. That's the position I feel like we need to have some elite guys come through in this cycle.
Both of y'all made very, very solid points, and I agree. I'm going to flip sides of the ball, and I'm going to go with offensive tackle. Obviously, we know about our misses last cycle at offensive tackle when you start with Lucas Simmons, and then obviously with Okunlola there at the end of the cycle, we put all of our, eggs in that basket and came up empty on that. So we had to hit the portal for some tackles, and we got some, with Goodwin and George. We brought them in, but eventually you're going to have to land a tackle through recruiting. It's just going to have to happen. I mean, we were supposed to have David Stone in for a visit. That visit got canceled. He's probably going to stay out in the Midwest there, excuse me, with Texas or Oklahoma, A&M, one of those schools out there. We swung on Cam Pringle early in the cycle, but he never actually made it to town before committing to South Carolina. But I do think you'll see us double back on Cam Pringle. I do not believe we're gonna give up in that recruitment. Him being, of course, cousins with Juwan Taylor, former offensive tackle at Florida. But there's a few other names out there I think we've got a good shot at, but we need to press, man. And one being Ethan Callaway. He's 6'7" tackle out of North Carolina. He's number 205 in the composite, 300-pound guy already going into his senior season. I've heard good things about how we stand for Ethan Callaway. I think he might be, as of right now, the most likely guy. But there's other guys out there, and we need to press on them. Another one being out of South Carolina is Josiah Thompson. He's 6'6", 280. He's the number 73 overall player in the composite right now, but he's currently favored to South Carolina. Well, I don't know. Maybe I just don't see it, but I don't see South Carolina landing two elite tackles in one class when we can't get one. Something's not adding up there. I'm going to need Mr. Sale to kick it into gear here. And another one closer to home is Jimothy Lewis, is 6'6", 280-pounder out of IMG. He's a number 178 overall in the composite right now. All great options. And I'm not saying you got to land necessarily a 5-star kid, but you need to land a good top 200, top 100, preferably, offensive tackle here before long. I mean, it's just this cycle, you probably need to land 2. But get me one blue chipper first, and then we'll talk about the second one. But I need to see this staff in this cycle land us a good, solid offensive tackle that can be groomed behind the guys that we brought in the portal and that we already have on the team, like Austin Barber. So, guys, that's going to do it for this week as far as recruiting and everything goes. Not a whole lot of team notes as right now. The guys just started back with spring practice, had a little spring break action. You've seen some of the highlights early here. Billy G out there coaching the receivers up. Excited to see that. If you haven't had a chance to go out there and watch the video that the Florida account tweeted out today of Austin Armstrong out there on the field coaching kids up, that dude is a firecracker, man. That guy is on fire for some damn football. And God, I've missed seeing it. You ain't gonna see no damn.
Oh, he's my kind of defensive.
You ain't seen no Todd Grantham out there acting like that. I can promise you that.
And you combine him with Coach Spencer, those guys right there.
Boy, I'm gonna tell you now, these defensive guys, between that and Coach Raymond, which is Coach Raymond's all about business. I ain't never seen Coach Raymond holler, but I know how he probably talks to those young men on the field.
He be more about swag, man. They just chill back there.
Well, and nobody has more chill than Coach Raymond.
Yeah,
so,
right.
And you know what Mike P brings to the table? Mike P was always that way on the field. So hopefully, our man, Mr. Bateman, gets caught up in some of that, and it's contagious. And these defensive guys, I tell you right now, I love the energy I've seen in videos from the defensive guys in the huddle and at practice. I'm really looking forward to seeing this defensive group take a huge leap forward this year. So, guys, with that being said, that's pretty much all there is for that. And as you know, if you've been following the show the last few weeks, man, the Gator baseball team is crushing it. And as we come into this, I mean, they just took FSU on out of the stadium last night. I know CJ's got a little good stat about Florida versus FSU to share with you. So, guys, without any further ado, CJ, take us around the bases, man.
It's just another day taking care of business in the Kevin O'Sullivan era against his in-state rivals. Since he's gotten here, we've absolutely owned Florida State. We've won 15 of the last 18 against Florida State. I mean, just taking care of business. People are freaking out. You know, we're down 5-1. They're like, "Oh no, what are we gonna do? We look bad." I was like, "Guys, just calm down. A little rusty. We had the doubleheader on Friday. We didn't play baseball on Saturday. We didn't play on Sunday. We didn't play on Monday. Just had to shake some of the rust off. You had to drive up there to the Poverty Stadium in Tallahassee with the stupid trash fence and the right field wall that they have. I mean, and then you take care of business against your in-state rival after you've already taken care of business against our SEC rival, our cross-division rival, Alabama. We win 2 out of 3 against Alabama. Brandon Sproat on Thursday night pitched a complete game shutout, only gave up 1 hit the whole game against an Alabama team that is at the top of every batting statistic in the country. Brandon Sproat showed exactly why he came back to pitch again, because he felt like he was better than going to the third round rinky-dink Mets. And he's here to prove that. So you're looking at a great baseball team shaping up. Now this weekend, we're really starting to get into your hot and heavy, just SEC schedule. You've got to play Ole Miss. You got to go on the road. You're going to Oxford, the defending national champion Ole Miss Rebels. Ole Miss has kind of been sputtering a little bit the last couple of weeks, starting to hit, but they're definitely still a very talented baseball team. Ole Miss is no slouch. You're on the road. You're in Oxford. You got to pull this one out. You got to win this series. You got to go 2-3. You got to take that and really make a statement of where you're at in the conference. You're looking at all the other teams in the conference that are starting to come around. LSU is absolutely killing everybody. They took their series against Texas A&M. Vanderbilt looking good. South Carolina's only lost 1 game. Kentucky has come out of nowhere this season to look really good. Missouri, they sweep Tennessee. I mean, insanely good stuff going on in the East right now. So we've got hopefully we sweep Tennessee. No, some great stuff going on. Wyatt Langford is progressing nicely. From everything I've heard, no exact timetable on when he's going to return, but he's running, he's throwing, he's definitely getting back together. Kevin O'Sullivan is very happy where he's at on the recovery process. So we could see we could see Wyatt Langford back in a few weeks. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked by that if we see him even by the time we play maybe Georgia. So maybe even before that, maybe Auburn. But no, definitely some great stuff going on. It's always good to win the first game in the series against your rival like FSU. Still have the 2 more, the one in Jacksonville, one in Gainesville. And, hopefully we can take the sweep this year, 2 out of 3 last year. So, just some good stuff going on. Good stuff on the mound. Jack Caglione still looking MVP level. Josh Rivera has completely turned his stock upside down.
I was going to ask you to talk about Josh Rivera and what he's done this season. Obviously, you follow it a little stronger than I do, but just casually watching last night, and I saw he's up to 37 RBIs on the season, on a pace for 90. I mean, that's incredible.
That's incredible. It's even more incredible because it's not like Rivera did not have hype like
that's where I was going with that.
Or not a Jack Caglione. He coming into the season. Rivera had been a decent player. He kind of was in the 200s average range last year. He was a decent player. He was okay. Now all of a sudden he really reworked his entire swinging mechanics in the off season, and he's just tearing the cover off the baseball. really starting to shoot up some of the draft boards. People are really starting to look at Rivera. Guy's done incredible. I mean, he's RBIs are just just coming for him in waves. The guy's insanely talented. And definitely in a time where Wyatt Langford is not in your lineup, that really helps to kind of give a boost to somebody like Jack Caglione. Jack Caglione, you saw where he wasn't doing so hot over the weekend against Alabama. He had some pretty rough goes at it. Then he comes into FSU last night. He has 3 hits against FSU. So it really just shows where this team's at. You can find offense from almost anywhere in the lineup. You saw it last night from Michael Robertson or Dale Thomas or any of these guys. Ty Evans when he's on the field. Kay Curlin, he's going through a little slump right now, but Curlin is still insanely talented for his level. But definitely just be on the lookout. Watch the series this weekend against Ole Miss. Big-time series. Very important to where we're going to see where we're at. First real road test we've been through this season. So I'm eager to see how we perform.
Absolutely, man. I'm telling you, even through just you talking about it, I've never followed college baseball closely. I usually watch when they get to the end of the season and they start falling into the the tournaments. And this year I've paid a lot more closer attention. Boy, this team is just exciting. So once again, guys, if you live anywhere around Gainesville or even an hour or so out, man, take a drive up the next time the Gators are in town playing a series and watch. By all accounts, it is one of the better atmospheres in college baseball to go and just sit and watch a game with your family. The new park is fantastic. So, man, take advantage of it, man, and watch what could be a historically great Gators baseball team play this season.
Definitely.
All right, fellas. Well, that's pretty much going to do it for this week, guys. As always, man, we appreciate all of y'all that tune in and keep making this wheel turn. And, we can't do it without our listeners, man. And we appreciate all of you and want to make sure y'all know to check out our other episode, Pod of the People. We drop that usually on YouTube exclusively every Saturday morning. So if you haven't already checked it out, man, go listen in to Pod of the People on YouTube. While you're there, if you haven't already, hey, man, be a friend. Subscribe to the channel. Help some brothers out. We appreciate it. It takes 2 seconds.
Click the like button.
Yeah, man, and hit that like button. On. Smash that like button. Smash
That's right. Smash it through the keyboard.
Smash that like button and drop a comment. Hirsch, why do you sound like you're out of deliverance? I mean, what, anything you want to say, I'm good with it. All right, guys. CJ, you got anything you want to add before we jump?
Man, you guys just keep following us on all the major platforms, Twitters. Make sure you guys keep following us over there. Good feedback. We're bouncing things around all week with different topics. We're all pretty active on there. Make sure you follow the page's Twitter. Go see our Patreon page. Try to support us as creators. Everything we make from the Patreon is going to go right back into the podcast to make sure. And hopefully, if we can get the Patreon to grow a little more, we can do more exclusive content over there. Maybe some watch-alongs, maybe some Q&As, maybe some live streams or something like that would be great. If we can get the Patreon built up, we'd be happy to do things like that. We need you guys' support more than ever. So just make sure you're keeping up with us, keeping on interacting with us, answering the questions that we post every day, asking questions, and of course, liking, retweeting. Everything you guys can do really helps us out a bunch.
Yes, sir. Next time CJ's in town for a baseball game, he's going to take over the Twitter feed and live tweet from the stadium and give y'all all kinds of content. I'm dedicated to it. I'm dedicated to making sure CJ does that.
That's right. You're just going to hear me complain about the umpire for 90% of the game.
All right, Wes, take us home, man.
All right, appreciate it. The guys already hit on everything, you guys. It won't hurt for me to say it as well. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Of course, you guys know this is a podcast that support our troops. So to all our troops out there or our veterans, we thank you for your service and what you do for us to be able to have podcasts like this. So we salute you all, and also the spouses of those service members as well, because not only do they serve you, you help them serve as well. So we thank you guys. We support you guys, and we salute you guys for listening and supporting our podcast. And as always, go Gators.
Go Gators.
Go Gators, baby. Next week, guys, we'll catch you.